in the old-growth forests of Hainan Island in the south of China, the rarest primate known on our planet clambers through the trees. Hainan Island used to be connected to what is now modern-day Vietnam, although it's a pretty big used to. Back in the Mesozoic, an enormous volcanic eruption helped separate the island from the mainland, allowing it to drift to its current location. You know, geology stuff. And a few dozens of millions of years later, between 10 and 20 million years ago to be precise, the Age of Apes was upon the Earth. The ancestors of all modern apes, including ourselves, would flourish during this time period until rapid cooling and drying would wipe the majority out. Hainan Island still waited, enjoying a climate quite conducive to ape habitation, and long before humans arrived, at an undisclosed time and place, the mysterious primate would stake their claim to the island. Perhaps through rafting or some sort of temporary geologic phenomena, this species would come to thrive in manageable numbers on this remote island in the south of China. But now there are between 23 and 25 Hainan Gibbons left on planet Earth. Considered to be a branch-off lineage from the eastern black-crested gibbons who inhabit both southern China and Vietnam today, the Hainan Gibbon is now known to be genetically unique enough to be its own species, if a very small one. So what happened, and why should you care? The Hainan Gibbon is a unique species with relation to its own family of Hylobates. Unlike most gibbons, which are monogamous, these guys are thought to be polygynous, although it is unknown if this is due to their small numbers or if this branch was always structured in this fashion. Like most gibbons, they display no sexual dimorphism in body mass or canine size, suggesting perhaps this was a recent development, as polygyny can support social systems that lead to differences between the sexes. Essentially, if you aren't competing for mates non-stop, you have no need for sexual dimorphism. Furthermore, close relatives such as the eastern black-crested gibbon and simply the black-crested gibbon display primarily monogamous relationships, although polygyny does seem to increase the closer one moves geographically to the Hainan gibbons. One hypothesis suggests that polygyny is a response to the rapidly dropping numbers. They are sexually dichromatic, which means the males and the females differ in color. The males have this black coat with white tufts, and the females sport more of a buff color. It should be noted that sexual dimorphism is different from sexual dichromatism. The former applies to size, either in body mass as a whole, or in individual structures like teeth or horns, while the latter applies only to color. You may be wondering why there are unique colors for male or female gibbons, and the answer is, it's just sexual selection. Numerous generations of Hainan Gibbons simply thought these colors looked good or signaled health on their respective sexes. Which is super cool. And for you romantics out there, Hainan Gibbons are total saps. Bonded pairs will sing duets in the early morning hours, which strengthens their relationships and tells others to back off. I am floored that more romantic comedies and dramas don't feature gibbons as the titular characters, but every time I send Nicholas Sparks an email, he just extends my no contact order. Hainan Gibbon's diet consists of fruits, leaves, and occasionally insects, and as they search for their meals, they patrol the misty forests of Hainan Island like some ancient forest spirits. But the Hainan Gibbons are almost gone. They're critically endangered, and they're quickly approaching the northern white rhino numbers, that is to say, functionally extinct. And now that the northern white rhinos have lost their last male, Hainan Gibbons are considered by many to be the world's most endangered mammal. So why is this happening? I'll give you one guess. The culprit here is plain and simple. It's habitat loss. Hainan gibbons have 4% of their original habitats and have been forced to higher elevations than they're used to thanks to excessive logging and the constant threat of poaching. Why poaching, you may ask? because some people seem to think that gibbon bones and other gibbon parts can cure diseases. They can't. But traditional medicine proposes that boiling an entire gibbon for a few days until it's reduced to a hairy paste can produce a potent ailment cure. Chopsticks made from their long arm bones is supposedly also used to test for poison. Let's say it really loudly for the traditionalists in the back. Killing endangered animals for cancer medicines or aphrodisiacs does not work. You're just killing endangered animals. But live Hainan gibbons can vaccinate your local ecosystem against collapse. Of course, your forest may get autism. In all seriousness, these animals are considered an umbrella species, an ecological term meaning that Hainan gibbons can be tracked and measured and account for an ecosystem's overall stability and health. They're necessary. And studies have shown that alterations in the characteristics of the Hainan ecosystem that negatively affect the gibbons are indicative of negative impacts on other species as well. Remember, umbrella. Studies on other species of gibbon have shown that these animals are absolutely vital for seed dispersal, meaning local plants depend on them in order to spread their species and grow. So a dwindling gibbon population coupled with deforestation spells doom for the entire forest, and every animal that depends on it for shelter or food or just general stability. So long story short, if Hainan Island doesn't cut the crap and actually try to save the Hainan gibbon species, the entire ecological system might simply self-destruct. And there's little to suggest that this is first priority for the government. It's entirely on the backs of dedicated locals and foreigners. The recommendations for action are focused on several factors, the first of which being the mitigation of habitat loss by increasing and better equipping patrols of the island to dissuade illegal loggers. Other suggestions included reverting lowland plantations and farms back into habitable forests for gibbons by specifically planting plant species they require for survival, such as figs and myrtle. The plan also called for educating the residents of the island on the importance of the Hainan gibbons. The loss of habitat directly impacts both sources of food and shelter the gibbons need to survive. Greenpeace and the FFI conservation groups have been involved in raising public awareness both locally in East Asia and abroad, and currently the action plan is considered underfunded and poorly supported by its participating members, with limited coordination between them. Greenpeace has been calling on Hainan to better enforce its laws on poaching and logging, but it's not really working. This means the first step absolutely has to be education. Genetic rehabilitation is a must as well, given all the surviving gibbons are likely closely related. Efforts have been made to secure genetic samples through archive museum resources and the like, and splitting the local population may help reintroduce a bit of variability. But by artificial means or otherwise, more variation must be introduced into the population in order to prevent incestuous disorders and guard against single viral or bacterial events wiping out the entire group. This may come as a surprise, but I love gibbons. They're my favorite ape. They're my favorite primate, and it breaks my heart that a hylobate is on track to be the first primate to go extinct since the 1700s. We have to show the people of Hainan Island that we care about this species, that it's worth saving, because all hope is not lost just yet. Unsurprisingly, there's no direct means to donate funds to help save this very particular species in a very small endemic location, but I've included a link below to help Chinese conservation in general. It's my hope that some of those funds may reach the Hainan gibbons, but really and truly, awareness is our best weapon here. And perhaps the world's rarest primate can be the first species brought back from the brink of extinction, with the help of the world's most common primate.